I recently tried the demo for Mirthwood, a game that is described as the indie mix between Skyrim and Fable, and in this video I will take you through my journey as we find out if it's any good. The demo gives you a couple of in-game days to try it out, and should give you a good idea if this is a game you'll want to play further. The game started off with a narrative scene describing how war had come to our lands and we needed to flee to safety. So from the start it was clear that this game would have a rather dark setting, which is a nice change of pace in my opinion. The character creator was pretty basic, with the bare necessities of male and female options, height, weight, skin tone, hairstyle and color, as well as beard. After that though, it got a bit more in-depth, highlighting the game's role-playing aspects by letting you choose an origin, class and profession, all of which will affect your future gameplay. Choosing the peasant class, for example, might make it so your energy doesn't drain quite as quickly, but you're socially less alluring than a noble. And choosing the criminal profession, your goods will be worth more, but it will be harder to make friends. After creating your character, the tutorial area starts, which blends in nicely with the story. WASD movement to get around, while the game teaches us how to interact, equip, use the radio wheel and ultimately fight as well. I grab some stuff from our house and start running. On our way, we meet up with our parents and brother, who tell us to head to the docks. On the way to the docks, we get to fight our first enemies, bandits. The combat is rather slow, and inputs take a while to actually occur. It does feel like it is intended though, but it makes it really hard to time your parries or your dodges, so you may have to get some practice in. Or I may just be bad at combat, that's also a very plausible reason. We also get introduced to the morality and renown system, as we ran into some guards holding a tied down man. The man, Thorn, was one of the guards that abandoned his post, which allowed the raiders to come in more easily. He claims, however, that he didn't do so out of fear, but because he wanted to stop them from poisoning a water well, which would have even more disastrous consequences. We then get the option to do nothing, to free Thorn, or to kill him ourselves. Depending on your choice, your morality and renown will be affected accordingly. The tutorial leads us out of the war-ravaged village and to the docks, where we sail away to more peaceful lands. Arriving here, I quickly made some food at a nearby cooking pot I found and grabbed some mead. It was a long journey. I then found a strange man who offered me this steed and told me to ride it west to meet up with another stranger. This was all kind of weird really, but he knew my name, so it sounded legit. We rode for over a day before coming upon the stranger. This hooded man gave us our very own plot of land for some reason. I tried to convince him to give me the horse as well, but unfortunately that didn't work. After taking a nap in our very own farm, the tutorial area ended and we were free to roam around. The demo was kind enough to give us some starting equipment, so I quickly set out to cleaning around the farm area and sprucing up the exterior. Chopping down trees or mining rocks is pretty basic, nothing too special about it. You just equip the correct tool using the radial menu, as there is no action bar, and hold left click. It doesn't take too long either for a resource to be done, which is good, else it can get tedious. The upgrading of the outside of the farm was kind of sudden and immersion breaking though. A small cutscene or animation even would have been nice. I decided to end this first day by planting some crops still as well. The tilling of the soil was completely freeform, as there wasn't a grid to adhere to. This has advantages, as you can go for the layout you wish, though for someone like me who can't draw a straight line for the life of him, it can prove a bit difficult to get it neat and orderly. There was a toggle grid button, but that didn't really seem to do anything. Getting to this point, we've leveled up a couple of our skills already, so let's talk about those. There are a number of skills you can level: melee, archery, farming, trades, charisma, and survival. Leveling each of these skills will give you a slight boost in their corresponding function. Melee will increase your melee damage output, for example, while charisma will increase the rate at which your friendship grows. There I also saw these skill cards, which we will get into later. After watering our crops the next morning, I decided we should head into town and see what's going on. On our way there, we meet the first villager, Graham. You have a number of options now. When near an NPC, you can greet, jeer, or talk. Using the talk option opens up a number of options again: chat, jest, romance, gossip, or influence. Choosing one of these options opens up yet another number of choices to choose from. I won't go over all of those, but safe to say, you have a lot of freedom for how you want to play your character. Now, depending on the NPC you're talking to, they will act differently to your choices. I found, for example, that Graham responded surprisingly well to me threatening him after he insulted my parents. One thing that irked me, however, was how, while you're choosing between all of these options, the NPCs will just start to walk away, so I had to be quick. We later found out that if you are near an NPC, you can also click on the character icon at the bottom left of the screen to know a bit more about their current state and your relationship with them. I entered the village shortly after, and it felt lively. People were walking around, chatting with each other as you could see the friendship icons go up or down, and there was a busy ambience to it as well. It felt actually like walking into a village, which was nice. I quickly found the notice board, which gave me my first quest. Apparently there was some trouble with the local meadery as shipments had all but halted, and the owner hadn't been seen for quite a while. Intrigued, I decided I may look into that. Entering the tavern, I found my next quest. It seems the local tradesmen have been having some trouble with a bandit called Reginald Darcy. They were looking for a noble and brave hero to get rid of him, and of course, who better than me to be said hero? But not after I robbed the house next door though. Besides the straight-up quests that you get, there were also notes and hints at other points of intrigue in the game, which gave it a very immersive feeling. I like that. Leaving the town to the north, I quickly came upon the meadery. There was a bandit skulking around, so I just dispatched him effortlessly, and then set about to finding the clues about what happened here. I won't go into too much detail, but let's just say I absolutely loved it. The visual cues, the written notes, and the overall intrigue, it was fantastic. My inventory did fill up here though, and even though I kept throwing stuff out, I couldn't loot anymore, which had me kinda confused. I decided to head back to the farm, seeing as it was getting late and my energy was draining. The next morning I headed out to complete the other quest we had received in the village, take down Reginald Darcy. I happened upon a traveling merchant along the way, so decided to sell some excess stuff to clear out my inventory before the big battle. Now, when I say big battle, I mean big battle. The bandits we fought before were okay. Mostly they just stood around a while before blocking or attacking, and it was more a game of who does what first. Reginald, however, was rather difficult. After he found his way around the table, that is. He actually took some skill to take down. It was during this fight that I rediscovered that powder barrels usually explode when tampered with, so with a little bakuhatsu, I managed to take him down, and myself almost as well. With those quests done, I only had the farm quests in my log still, so I decided to head back. On my way back, I came upon these standing stones. They offered a fun puzzle challenge, and after completing it, I got my first skill cards, a number of them actually. Some increased the amount of lumber I got from chopping trees, others the amount of stone from mining, and I could even freely swap them out. I don't know if it's intended, but I definitely did use it. I like the idea of putting together your character even more by use of these cards, and I'm really looking forward to finding more rare ones. Getting back to the farm, all I had to do was wait for my crops, so I spent some time cleaning up and decorating the place. Basic furniture was easily bought in the marketplace in the village. The marketplace showing which items are high in demand in case you want to make some easy money, or which were high in stock, so could be easily purchased. While placing the rug, I found the grid button kind of working? It's definitely something I need to fiddle around with a bit more with the full launch. Other than that, the decorating went pretty smooth and was very intuitive. Even with these basic items, I think I was able to make the farm quite cozy to relax after my days of slaying bandits and stealing from the locals. As our time with the demo was nearing its end, I was ready to wrap it up when the last of my crops finally did spring to life, and I was able to finish up my complete quest log, and so I am very confident in saying, I finished the demo, and here is my opinion on it. First, the positives. Mirthwood's storytelling in general is fantastic. The narrator does an amazing job of pulling you into the story, the visual cues are on point, the notes and quests don't feel too much in your face but just casual and immersive, and the ambience just wraps it up nicely, pulling you into this dark and grim fantasy game. I love the dark cozy. I don't know what it is, but this feels like something that shouldn't work, yet it does. Being able to craft your little sanctuary away from the dangers of the dark fantasy world beyond just works, and I look forward to expanding on that. The background of the character hasn't really come into play during the demo as far as I could tell, but I love the amount of options they had. Would have loved it even more if you could choose an actual elf, but I suppose everyone would just choose that then and human would become obsolete, huh? But the different zones you could choose from, the background and class and how it affected your character, it was very nice. I'm really looking forward to seeing what bizarre mixes some people will make. I do hope these choices will reflect more in the full game though. While combat may feel slow at first and difficult to get the hang of the timings, the fight with Reginald was really fun for me. I can definitely see how it won't be for everyone though, and it took me some getting used to as well. Which isn't to say I got good at it, I just mean I started to enjoy it, stop bullying me. Now for the negatives. While the game focuses heavily on social interactions with the NPCs, them walking off while you're still talking to them gets kind of annoying. It caused me to quickly choose a random option at times, which may not have been the one I wanted to choose. As said before, the upgrading of the farm was kind of immersion breaking. We went from ready to crumble exterior to a pristine looking farm, and if I had blinked, I would have missed it. It kind of takes away from the accomplishment as well. I also hope that the small sign you use outside of your farm to upgrade it gets replaced as well. There is nothing wrong with having to talk to a carpenter in the village to get that fixed up in my opinion. All in all, Mirthwood was a delight to play. I love developers, especially indie, that dare to step away and take a risk. Mirthwood was definitely worth the risk, and I can't wait to play the full game. Again, if you haven't yet, go wishlist the game over on Steam, link is in the description, and if you're still here, thank you so much. Do give that like button a boop as well if you've enjoyed the video and help it out in the algorithm. And as always, take care and happy adventuring my friends. Bye bye.